Joe talks about Joe. And now, your host, Joe Slepsky.
Hello and welcome back to Joe on Joe. It's me, your host, Joe Slepsky. And we're back, gentle listeners, with another rousing episode of Joe on Joe Illustrated, where we dig through every page, every panel, every piece of ink on an issue of G.I. Joe. This week, though, we're not doing a real American hero. What we are doing is Saturday Morning Adventures, issue number 4. Now, if you're a regular listener of the show, well, first of all, thank you. Second of all, welcome aboard. If you're not, thanks for listening. And if you are, you've heard me talk about this series. We've covered all the issues so far, the first 3, and it's great. And spoiler alert, still great. Really like this series. Not only do I like the series, I just like the idea of exploring the Sunbow stuff. You guys know this podcast started out as just a straight Sunbow dissertation where we looked at every episode of Sunbow and then DIC and then, then Extreme, etc. and so on. So to finally seeing them explore the Sunbow world and use those characters, because they are technically different. They are different. They're in their own little universe with their own quirks and stuff, as we can see as we dig into it. To see that stuff explored is awesome and a long time coming. And who knows what the future will hold, but I hope that they don't abandon this idea of exploring all the eras of G.I. Joe, because this has been a big success. So let's not bury the lead at all. I really enjoyed this series, and issue 4 is no stranger to that. So let me know what you guys think. Did you guys agree? Have you been enjoying this miniseries? So hit me up on social medias at social media, insert social media tag here at Joe on Joe Pod. That's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. joeonjoepod@gmail.com. Send me a note. Let me know what you think. You can visit joeonjoe.com. It's my website. It's technically my website. It's a terrible website. I'm not a web dev, and I apologize for it. But you can visit there. You can also, though, if you want to help support the show, go on go on patreon.com/joeonjoepod, and you can sign up to be a Patreon. You can help support the show. Every little bit helps. We're closing in on our big summer release, which is going to be I almost said exactly what it was going to be. I almost spoiled it. But let's put it this way. If you guys enjoyed the work that we put into Cold Slither, then I think you're going to appreciate the work that's going into fill in the blank name of this next special that we've got. I've unearthed something. I've found an artifact. It's an actual rare, never before unearthed artifact from this, my favorite era of G.I. Joe. And I cannot wait to share it with the world. And that's all you're going to get this week. That's the teases you're going to get this week. I'll tell you what else you're going to get this week as we're recording this. We're just days away from G.I. Joe being back in the big screen. Keep saying back in the big screen. Being on the big screen. Released in one of those Fathom events. I'm so excited. This Thursday night we're going. It's also playing Saturday afternoon. I can't make any of the Saturday screenings, but Thursday night, bam, I'm going to be there. Watching G.I. Joe on the big screen. That is going to be exciting to see Duke survive a snake to the chest and just slip into a coma. As the great, I believe Nick's name was the C.E. Joe, friend of the show, great friend, guest of the show, Nick Glassman. I believe his name was C.E. Joe when he was on. As he once said, "Hey man, how do you know what getting a snake to the heart will do to you? How do you know it won't just throw you into a coma? You have no way to prove that it will absolutely kill you." And you know what? The C.E. Joe was correct. We don't know that that's what would have happened to Duke. So I can't wait to see it. I'm really excited for it too. Also, this being Yojo June, right? Over on Hasbro, they're doing weekly drops. So last week they dropped pre-orders for two things we pre-ordered last week, and I forget what they were, but I grabbed them. And then this week we're getting some more. So basically, if you're hearing this, pay attention to Hasbro. And if you're hearing this, you probably already know that. You probably know exactly what you pre-ordered last week. I'm just having trouble remembering it because I am old. Speaking of old, my that next G.I. Joe project drops on my birthday. So it's going to be my awesome birthday present from me to you guys. So normally on this show,
You were saying?
is our segment where we talk about other comic books that were on the shelf the same week that this dropped. So in this case, this dropped last week. And if you want to see what comic books, this is what I always say, if you want to see what books are on the shelf, don't rely on me to tell you, walk down to your, well, drive, really, who walks? Drive down to your local comic shop and see what books are on the shelf and check them out for yourself. I will tell you what I'm enjoying. I just finished reading the new Fantastic Four, what would you call it? They call it like Marvel Tales, but it's like the compilation of the 3 issues that Walter Simonson wrote and Art Adams drew from the mid 90s, early 90s, I think, rather, where Wolverine, Spider-Man, Hulk, and Ghost Rider took over. And it was just a 3-issue excuse to have Art Adams draw monsters. And always fun. Always resonated with fans right away. It's a fun little story. It was a little breather for Simonson. And they're doing a new series. I think what it's shaping up to be is it's an interim series in between creative teams for the Fantastic Four. Because I think Dan Slott's run is ending. If I read the promotional thing right, that Slott's run is ending on the FF. Not that you guys care about that. We're here to talk G.I. Joe, but we're talking comics. Slott's run is ending on the FF, which is I've enjoyed it. It's not bad. I've read a lot worse FFs. His run is ending on the FF very soon, and I have a feeling what they're doing is they're going to put that on hiatus, do this new FF, which is a revisiting of the Wolverine, Hulk, Spider-Man, Ghost Rider dynamic, and then when that wraps up, kind of revisit, relaunch or restart the main FF, and to give room for the forthcoming Alex Ross Fantastic Four project, which is going to be huge when that drops, and I think that drops in August. So I don't have previews in front of me, but I have a feeling that's their kind of big plan, is to give the FF book. And the FF book, while very important and vital, I think, to the Marvel Universe, has never really lit the sales world on fire. So if they're going to give them a little bit of a break, run that the quote new FF series for a few months, and then have all the focus be on the Alex Ross version of the FF. I don't know if the Alex Ross version is what would they consider continuity or not, but that would be the version that they want everyone to pay attention to. And if that drops in August, then that makes sense to have the normal FF to be on the sideline a little bit, so the world puts their attention on that Alex Ross one, which looks really, really great, and I'm assuming will be really good. So so that's all the hot FF talk. But they collected those 3 issues into just an easy to read, thing. So if you've never read those, pick them up. It's a lot of fun. It's got great Art Adams art and Walter Simonson writing. So I just finished reading that. But also, we're wrapping up G.I. Joe. Like, G.I. Joe's nearing its issue 300, and I believe 300 is the last issue for IDW. So G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero is wrapping up, and who knows what the future will bring on that. So for now, we got to treat this as, until we hear otherwise, it's kind of going to be the swan song for Larry's version. Now, whoever picks it up, I'm sure will incorporate Larry in some way, shape, or form, but who knows if it'll be the same continuity, so on and so forth. So that storyline's heating up. I like it. I like that they're revisiting Serpentor and kind of remapping that, and they keep teasing us with Snake Eyes. And I feel like he's going to do a curveball with the Snake Eyes thing, because the answer's so obvious. But on the other hand, I don't want him to. I kind of want Snake Eyes back. The answer being, you clone somebody, or you take Sean's broken body and you put Snake Eyes' brain that's been stored in the brainwave scanner, and you put his brain patterns into either Sean's body or into a clone version of it, something like that, right? So these are all the things that Larry's setting up, and we see that he's done this kind of setup a lot in the past. So he sets all these various things, and if we take him at his word, he doesn't know what he's going to do until he does it. So I kind of love that he's giving himself multiple options here, keeping us guessing. I think we all thought they were going to do this a long time ago. That with Dawn running around with his brains in her head and his memories in her head, kind of a thing. And so it's fun to see, and I'm enjoying it, and I love the Cobra casino bit on Cobra Island. That's a whole lot of fun. That really harkens back to this older era that we enjoy. So, yeah, I'm really digging it. I'm enjoying it. So I think that's it. Like, we're reading, what else? I'm reading, like, Thor. I've talked about Thor before. I'm reading Thor. Thor's okay. I'm not loving it, but I'm liking that more than I like Cates' Hulk. Yeah, that Flashpoint Beyond over on DC, it feels like a project that was supposed to coincide with when they originally were talking about releasing the new Flash movie, but then obviously COVID happened, and then now all this other craziness is happening with the actor who plays Flash. So as that craziness makes everything delayed more and more, who knows what's happening with that whole Flashpoint crossover world, etc. But it's all enjoyable. It's all fun. There's a lot of good stuff on there. There's also a lot of bad stuff, but let's focus on the positive. But that's it.
You were saying?
Oh, and in the movie theaters now, I'll dip into the toes of our great sponsor, the Movies and a Meal podcast. In fact, if you guys want to talk about movies, there's only one place to go, and there's only one podcast to listen to, and that is Movies and a Meal.
Listeners, I know what you need in your life. You need more podcasts. And you also love movies. So why not do a podcast that's about not one movie? It's about not two movies. It's about 3 movies and a meal. I'm talking the Movies and a Meal podcast. This show is great. It's brought to you by Keith, Brad, and Ben, and each week they bring a new movie to the table, which they all discuss as a group. And it's not, your highfalutin movies. It's What We Do in the Shadows, The Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer, and Out of Sight. It's Bad Education, Ghost Rider, and A View to a Kill. It's X-Men Last Stand, Queen Sugar, The Mandalorian, and Major League 2. They are a lot of fun to listen to. You guys know Ben. It's our friend Ben Penseriga. He was a guest on Joe and Joe. In fact, Ben was the very first remote guest that I ever had on this podcast, so he's always got a special place in my heart. I'm really digging this. I just started listening to it last week. It is a lot of fun. They bring a guest in. The guest, I listened to their Heathers episode. They were joined by Kelly, and she went in depth on her favorite movie, which was Heathers, and it made me want to go watch Heathers to watch with them. I really dig it. So guys, find them out there at Movies and a Meal, Twitter, Instagram. Their website is moviesandameal.podbean.com. They put out 1 episode a week. Give them a listen, guys. Support them. Let them know Joe on Joe sent you. I don't think you're going to be disappointed. It is quite entertaining. And now back to the show.
Saw 2 movies over the weekend I want to talk about. Saw Lightyear. I saw Jurassic World, the Dominion, or whatever they're calling it. Lightyear, I enjoyed Lightyear a lot, but it is weird because it is not, as much as it looks like a Pixar movie, they didn't design it to be a Pixar movie because it's, obviously because it's designed to be a movie within the Pixar universe. And so the beats are different, and the beats are, it's just not what you expect. So it's almost like they're 30 years or however long of training us to, and I love Pixar. I think they rarely do a mistake. It's like that training that they've kind of worked us to understand, appreciate, or expect goes against them a little bit because it doesn't have a lot of the same Pixar beats and the same Pixar emotions and feelings and things like that. It is a straight action movie because it's supposed to be an action movie within that universe, right? So then you get into, then it plays. I was thinking the parallels where it plays a lot like G.I. Joe the movie in that it's an action animated movie, not a cute, funny, charming, heartwarming movie. G.I. Joe's a lot of things. I would never say that the G.I. Joe movie is cute, funny, heartwarming, or charming, right? So to see a Pixar movie like that with very little of it, certainly there is some, that cat's awesome, but there's very little of it. It is more just straight actioner. I think it just sits different. Having said that, really well done. We enjoyed it. You know, it makes you revisit Toy Story, and I love Toy Story, so that's great. Also, so Jurassic World. That is, to paraphrase Jurassic Park, that is one huge pile of shit. Pardon my French. That movie is, they managed to find a way to make a movie that's titularly about dinosaurs, but the dinosaurs factor into nothing. They don't work. They're not a part of the plot, and they're not a part of the resolution of the plot. There's a little bit of spoilers if you haven't seen it. If you haven't, you're on the fence. Don't bother. Wait. So a little bit of spoilers. Pardon me, guys. The plot is about giant locusts that have been mutated using the same science behind the dinosaurs, sure, but like locusts that have mutated so that they're destroying crops around the world, and they have to. So the heroes have to break in to get pure locust DNA to solve and to match it with the clone girl's DNA from the previous movie, to therefore then release it into the wild, this fresh locust, and then from there, then that locust will fix the problems with these other locusts, right? So they'll stop eating all of America's crops and things like that. And if you noticed, none of that description involved a dinosaur. Now, very slightly, they keep saying, "Oh, we also need the blood of the baby dinosaur," but let's be real. They didn't need the blood of the baby dinosaur. They just threw that in there. So you have a little baby dinosaur. It was 100% about the cloning and the geneticists and stuff. And there's no dinosaurs. But they're in there. They're running around. But they're not the reason that the movie is existing, which is just a massive problem for me. And it's a real easy fix. I'm going to throw this out there and then we'll get back to G.I. Joe. You needed to start the movie with the dinosaurs having been rounded up. Like, for the last 4 years, the world went on a concerted effort, and they've rounded up, let's say, 99% of the dinosaur population. So you still have a few randos out there, but they're all actually caged up once again. And you figure out that the only way to stop this giant mutated crop of locusts, the only way is to let the dinosaurs live in the wild. Therefore, the dinosaurs would eat these locusts and they would help control the population, making the dinosaurs an integral part of the solution of the story. And then that's the message they come, that we need to learn to live in harmony with our neighbors. The dinosaurs aren't going anywhere. They'll actually help us because the mistakes we made, the mistakes being the locusts, we made those mistakes, but the dinosaurs are going to help us because they're going to eat them, and it'll be like, and the locusts themselves were originally bred to be the dinosaur food in the compound, and then they escaped, and then they're eating up the world's crop. That's it. That's your movie. I can't believe that wasn't what they were supposed to be doing with this movie. And somehow that got lost and changed, and you have dinosaurs that do absolutely nothing to help solve any problems. Not that, the dinosaurs are the problem solvers, but you know what I'm saying. Using their existence to solve the problem. Nothing. It's just a complete baffling mystery to me. Really, really disappointing. They have made 5 really inferior sequels based on how great the first movie is. That's how great Jurassic Park is, that they've been able to coast off. And I'm talking big budget sequels. I'm not talking like budgets the size of, Beneath the Planet of the Apes and Escape from the Planet of the Apes and, Battle for the Planet of the Apes, like those kind of Planet of the Apes sequels, because how great Planet of the Apes was. Those were much smaller budgets with rubber masks. I'm talking big budget movies. That's how good Jurassic Park is. Anyway, we're here to talk about G.I. Joe.
Now, mass is ready.
So with that, and I gotta be honest, because there's not much to say here about Saturday Morning Adventures. We're gonna go page by page like we always do, but it's a great book. It's really enjoyable. It's a really well-earned ending wrap up to this miniseries. I enjoyed it. I personally have the Duke fighting Cobra Commander cover, where they got the stars and stripes behind them, and they're fighting over a magic lamp, and behind them you've got Gung Ho and either Tomax or Zaymot, Storm Shadow, Roadblock. They're all fighting, and it looks like Cover Girl and Baroness. There is also another fun cover of. Let's go to the back here and look at the other covers. There is a cool cover that's harkening, speaking of G.I. Joe the movie, harkens back to that, where they're fighting Duke and Destro, and a Viper and Cobra Commander are fighting around the Statue of Liberty. So that's fun. That's the Larry Houston. Oh, well, of course, that's Larry Houston, who was the art director for that sequence. So that's great. So he did the artwork for that cover. Dan Schoening did the artwork for this one. And then there's a cover that I kind of really like. It's interesting that the cover by Rick Hoberg, who's, old school comic guy. I like what he's doing here, and I feel like it's almost, there's portions of this that look almost not photorealistic, but like action toy realistic, to where it looks, there's a way when you glance at this, Snake Eyes looks like an action figure, Scarlet looks like an action figure, Duke doesn't, strangely enough. His pose is a little too fluid for me, if that's what Rick was going for here. So his pose is very it's more comic booky, and then that snake looks like it could be like a toy. Like, I like this. I do like this cover a lot. Like it's almost like drawn fumetti to a point. Yes, I wonder if that's actually what he was going for, or if maybe he actually used toys and posed them when he was drawing them. That's what I'd be curious about, because there's a stiffness to it that works really well because of the subject matter. So it's really good. So I like all three covers on this, by all the artists.
Yo, Joe!
So we're digging in. Writer Eric Burnham, artist Dan Schoening, colorist Luis Antonio Delgado, Neil Uyatake is the letterer, Tom Waltz group editor, Riley Farmer's associate editor, Diana Davis, friend of the show, research specialist. Fabulous job, like literally, really great job, excellent job, everybody. Well played. So we open this first page, and it's a great summation of where we left it. All the Joes on one side, all the Cobras on the other side, and the captions are basically the captions for the reader are the dialogue by the genie, giving us a summation of what do we got. We got the G.I. Joe on one side, Cobra terrorist army on the other side, been at war with each other for years, and now, since the current master has demanded this war be resolved, despite the genie's inability to do so in the way that Cobra Commander wished,
Yo, Joe!
we'll just have to improvise now. So both armies are here, as are your weapons at war, and now you will fight until there is a victory, or until you're all gone. So it's exactly the setup they left us with, and it is exactly what I've always wanted to see, which is toy on toy, the characters we know and love. Not a lot of green shirts, not a lot of troopers. It's all the face characters versus all the face characters going to battle with their toyetic versions. And what they did a wonderful job with is these versions throughout the show are the toy versions. The guns they get given here by the genie, the Dreadnoks talk about it. They're the toy versions. So it's really good. So that first page, really liked all the angles, everything. This second page, this is one of those things where I again go, I wonder if it's because of the scale, but there's this emptiness, and we've seen it in almost all these issues, this emptiness where, in this case, this first panel, Cobra Commander and Duke are so far to the sides to give the genie focus that it makes this wild emptiness on the page. And there's a big part of me that wants to bring them closer. And I know, like, that's cheating, because I'm sure they wouldn't be standing shoulder to shoulder, without punching each other in the face. But there's a part of me that wants to bring their shoulders a little bit, to put them in frame a little bit more, having Cobra Commander's head maybe cut in front of some of the genie's pink tail there. things like that, just to fill up that space. And I've talked about this in almost all these issues. We've seen this a lot, and I wonder if, since this all appears to be mainly done on computers, I wonder if they played with that, and for some reason it just doesn't look right, or just doesn't feel right, or it throws off the scale of things. Because we got it with the giant bats and the airplanes, where the planes, or the like the fangs and the dragonflies were so small on the page, because you wanted to show the scale of the bat, and that left so much empty space on the page. It was a little awkward from a comic book perspective. That's kind of what I'm getting a little bit here. So I would have liked to have seen a little more of those guys in that first shot. But, the cutaways of their toy / cartoon accurate vehicles showing up is fabulous. We get Airtight, Heavy Metal, Stalker. It's great.
Yo, Joe!
Cobra Commander screaming that this isn't what he wanted. And of course it's Major Blood, who just jumps into the fray and is like, time to fight is now. And he screams Cobra, and he just goes at it. That's really great. I love the pew pew sound effect. God bless whoever wrote that. It's great. It's a great use of it, because the pew saying pew PEW is kind of the stereotype, kind of the meme of it all. That's really, really great. Yeah, I love it. We get a reference here. General Hawk shows up, because he hasn't really been a part of this, and Duke references the gods below, which is one of the episodes of the Sunbow stuff where they dealt with actual Egyptian gods. And he says, you weren't there, but I know you read the report," which is cool. It's a nice bit of continuity nod. It's been a while since I've watched that, but if I remember, I think at the time we were like, fun episode, but I don't need the Joes, commiserating with Egyptian gods too frequently. And that was kind of my take on this going into it. And I think I still feel that way. Having said that, really good. These have been a really good 4 issues, and it's done really well, but that's not my favorite style of Joe Adventure.
Yo, Joe!
Vamp. We get a Vamp Mark II spotting here. Lady J. She says everything we could want or need is right here. Flint calls it creepy, makes him feel like a toy in a kid's sandbox, which is awesome. There's a lot of meta references in this issue, actually, quite a bit. And a little bit of a Star Trek reference here. He says, I don't want to know what this kid does when he throws a tantrum. And wasn't there that classic Star Trek episode where there was like a giant space kid, and am I actually thinking of the cartoon? You guys, I'm sure there's some Trekkies out there that know exactly what I'm talking about, where they met a kid, and they met an alien. They didn't realize that it was just a kid. And then at the end of the episode, they meet like the kid's parents. You guys, I think that was a TAS episode, and then I think they revisited it either in the cartoon, because it's a great idea, and it's from an old sci-fi thing, like a short story. Anyway, there's I know right now, I'm sure Dave Amiot is screaming at me. I apologize for not doing the research on that, but I just had the thought right now. So yeah, I'm definitely getting a Star Trek vibe there, which I love. This is where you get the Dreadnoks saying that they don't feel like the weapons they used to have, but they look clean, and it's because they match exactly what the toys had. So that's so much fun. It's great. And yeah, it just totally works.
Yo, Joe!
And here we get the Cobra Battle Bunker. I had this. My only complaint on this page is I wanted to see this battle bunker break into the 4 pieces, the top and the 3 sides. Otherwise, the fact that you guys used the battle bunker on this page is fabulous and fabulous and fabulous. Firefly, because he's super mercenary, he's just going to run away, and we see that we quickly learn that the genie's power is stopping anyone from running away. So that's the point of this page, is to address concerns like that of why do they have to fight? Well, they have to fight because the genie's forcing them. Firefly tries to run, and he gets zapped back to where he started. And so he and Spirit are going to fight, but they're doing it outside the Cobra Battle Bunker. I eventually figured out how to get it, but for the longest times I always had trouble getting my battle bunker to stay because like the pieces were built brilliantly to lean on each other in just the right way that, you know, then you could put the top on and it would support it. But if that top popped off at all, that's when the walls would collapse. And that was the point of it. Like you hit it with a missile and the whole thing would collapse. I totally had the battle bunker. That's great. That's what, oh, I love it.
Yo, Joe!
And in the skies above we get Flint and Destro, and they're having a mid-flight conversation here. And ever the pragmatist, pardon me, Destro is saying that he wants to keep his business intact. So if the war keeps going, he keeps making money, which I love as a commentary piece here, because Flint is sort of in the same boat, except he's not making money. It's just that's his purpose. And if they do stop the war, there is the risk that everyone on one side is going to die. But if they stop the war, then this war is stopped, right? Like it's an interesting conundrum that we got here. But Destro, you know, brings it up, and this is a lot of this is for the reader. The thing of the genie of Aladdin's lamp, it's too powerful to be taken out. Someone will need to wish to get the lamp and wish for this to stop. And this is I agree with Destro. Cannot imagine any member of Cobra would risk themselves. So he's asking the Joes to do it. And if there's anyone on the Cobra side that's going to recognize that, it absolutely is Destro.
Yo, Joe!
And, you know, the alternative is fighting, which is an attractive proposition in the long run for him if they stayed at stalemate. But the genie wants everyone to fight to their death. And, you know, Destro doesn't want to see everybody die. So on these pages, we get great. Now, I Googled this real quick. I can't recall who this female Cobra is. There is a female Cobra prominently featured here. I know someone here knows who that is. I can't place who that is. Yeah, my memory is just not helping me out here. But there is a because her outfit does not look familiar. I know we had like one episode where there was a female Cobra soldier, but I don't remember that outfit. That outfit does not look familiar to me at all. So if you guys know who that's supposed to be, because they do pick, you know, they fill this with a lot of fun references, and that's one of them. I know that's supposed to be somebody. I don't know who that's supposed to be. But Lift Ticket's fighting Low Light, Iceberg. We got a CG. We got Cross Country. I love that they're smart enough to draw Cross Country from behind, so they don't even have to tackle the subject of his Dixie belt, Dusty, Footloose, Scrap Iron, Wetsuit. And then over here we got Toll Booth, my man. There's a Snake Armor, Mutt and Junkyard, Blowtorch, Rakondo. This young lady with the braids in her hair, that one looks familiar to me. And she's a Cobra soldier, right? Refresh my memory there too, guys. So, we got the AWACS pilot, the guy who piloted the Terrordrome pilot. He's fighting, so it's great. Lots of little things, and little things that I couldn't remember before we started running tape.
Yo, Joe!
So, Destro thinks he's going to get away, and he tries to fly away. And the genie says no and crushes his rattler, but teleports Destro back onto the battlefield. So that's nice. We get a moment where Cobra Commander really starts going Super Snake. So this whole he's really hissing a lot and all that stuff. I feel like that's a Cobra Law reference. It's acknowledging that underneath that because he always snakes a little bit, but like in the previous he says make yourself useful. There's S's there, and he doesn't stay on those S's as much as he does in this one where he's like, I must be preserved. Like he really leans on these S's. So I think they're saying this is the Snaky Cobra.
Yo, Joe!
So Flint relays the plan to Scarlet Witch, and she waves her hands, and they fix it. But no, Scarlet and Gung Ho, they're driving around on an Awstriker. And this, what's neat about the way that this story is told in these pages is that there's a lot of open space storytelling, because it's dealing with animation, right? They're not packed full of dialogue. You get one line of dialogue with a nice open panel, like a nice wide shot of what the action would be in an animated period. And I think that works really well.
Yo, Joe!
You could tell that Eric Burnham is a Quick Kick fan, because he obviously gave him leadership in the previous issue and gave him a lot of fun dialogue, and we get more of that this issue. Doc, I love Doc's method of treating people in most G.I. Joe is just checking their pulse, because this is not incorrect. This is what we've seen Doc do a lot. So Doc is checking the pulse of Quick Kick, and we get a great line here where he's like, "Don't sweat it. This will make a great chapter in my memoirs." And he tries to run into the complex where the Aladdin's lamp is being held, and he gets stopped by the genie, and he says, "No." The genie says, "No member of the GI Joe or Cobra forces may pass these doors until the battle is won." Now,
Yo, Joe!
what I really dig that the creators here have come up with is they're basically using the genie's parsing of the language. They're using it against him, right? So he just said that's the rule, and so we see what's happening on this page, and our boy Shipwreck gets the bright idea that Polly can go in there where the rest of the Joes can't, because technically Polly's not a member of the G.I. Joe team. Now, I'm going to throw this out there as a lifelong avowed fan and member of the Polly fan club. You telling me Polly's not considered a Joe? If Polly went down and went missing in action, the Joes wouldn't, they wouldn't consider him MIA. If Polly fell in the heat of the battle, they wouldn't give him a state funeral. You telling me Polly's not considered a member of the G.I. Joe team? But technically, he's not. So, you know me. I love Polly. So,
Yo, Joe!
So you know what we're going to get there. We're going to get Polly's going to be the one to fly in. That writing's on the wall. But we still get to revisit. We see a lot of action here. Barbecue, he and Sci-Fi are getting some heat from a hiss tank. Cobra Commander is really going snaky and really losing it. He's flying around in a fang as Lady J lets loose a absolute toy-accurate missile in a Sky Striker. What's also cool about this is that they are going from toy to toy to toy, we saw Lady J. Where was she last? She was she was running towards a vamp. I guess we didn't see her, but they're just putting them in the toys in space, in space, in the air, right? So Flint's just flying in the Sky Striker, which is what you did when you played with toys. It's time for Lady J to be in the Sky Striker, so we're just going to put her in the Sky Striker. That's it. That's what we did. That's what they're doing here. I love it.
Yo, Joe!
Cobra Commander, he avoids the missile, but he is a terrible pilot apparently, and he flies out of control and he crashes himself. So it's a fun way to get around knocking Cobra Commander out of the sky without having to deal with, did we just kill Cobra Commander by hitting him with a missile? And also, since he's the leader, he's down. Does that mean the Joe's won? And no, it's not.
Yo, Joe!
So, this is where it gets a little, not confusing, but the Joes are all in communications, and Shipwreck basically tells them, we're working on something, and there's a shark involved, and I'm confused as to, not confused is the wrong word. Well, they flew there in the shark, so that's what's happening. So they're just hanging out by the shark. But you never really see Polly go. We don't see Polly go. We're going to get there in a page, but the twins are run into Shipwreck and Quick Kick, and we get a little bit of Quick Kick putting his foot in Zaymot's face, and Tomax feels it. The 2-for-1 knockouts, he loves that.
Yo, Joe!
Cobra Commander is left dangling via his parachute in the jungle while Wild Bill, Roadblock, and Footloose catch up to him. And while they're gawking at him, some of the Cobra soldiers catch up, and they're actual Cobra Vipers, and they start shooting at the guys. So the guys do have to take cover. so they can't actually just get to Cobra Commander. So this is good. These are all like delaying tactics for us to get to
Yo, Joe!
Cobra Temple. So now Polly is flying through the temple. And here's where, this is the part where I go, we're so close with the landing. Like, we're so close with sticking the landing. So Polly's flying in the temple. We've established that Polly's not considered a member of the Joe team, so he can enter, or she can enter. I've never really understood. Polly lands on the lamp, grabs it, says Polly wants a cracker, so we get a cracker. That's one wish. So Polly wants a shipwreck. So now Shipwreck is able to enter the temple, where the thing's held. So that's great. So Shipwreck did his job. So I love this plan, by the way.
Yo, Joe!
And this is where the problem is. Shipwreck picks it up and rubs the lamp. He can only have, I thought, didn't they establish in this that there can only be one at a time? And until Cobra Commander used up all three of his, no one else could do it, right? So Polly only says two. Whoa, Mary Jane agrees. Polly only says 2 wishes. So there's no third wish. So how does Shipwreck jump the line with one of Polly's wishes? You see what I'm saying? Don't get me wrong. Nitpicking, but literally that's what we do here, right? That's the point of breaking this down and going, okay, what's happening here? There needed to be another panel of a gag here. There needed to be a Polly wants a cracker, and he gets a cracker. Polly wants a shipwreck, he gets a shipwreck. And then, should have said something like, Polly wants Polly wants a mate or something like that. Or maybe Shipwreck's the third and Polly gets a second thing first. But either way, I thought according to the rules they laid down earlier in the series, Shipwreck shouldn't be able to get this question. Because Shipwreck picks it up and he rubs the lamp. And the genie says, okay, what do you want, dude? And Shipwreck does a good job. He wishes everything Cobra Commander wished for was undone. And then I wish that once this is all over, no one can find your lamp for at least 1,000 years. And then he says, I have one more wish left, and you must make it before, Shipwreck must make it before it can depart. Okay, so I'm sorry. So him wishing everything a Cobra Commander wished for was undone. That right there, that breaks the curse that they're under, right? That breaks the current, you have to fight to the death stuff. So they're good there. And then he basically jumps to his third wish, which is no one can find you for 1,000 years. Okay, granted. And then he says he has one more wish, which we're going to find out later, which is a lot of fun. So I'm okay with the shipwreck portion of this. I think Polly has an extra wish left. I really do. And by the way, I love the animation here of Shipwreck. I think he looks great. He's got all the right, like his nose is perfect. Like, it's like that's a nose that's been punched in a bar fight. Like really, really nice animation on this stuff. And nice, kind of Disney look for Polly, which is really solid. And generally just the framing on these pages are really, really well done.
Yo, Joe!
So now there's a brief little, like a fuzz thing here, right? And the genie added that no one shall remember any of this but you. And it's because he wanted to undo everything in the Cobra Commander. So in undoing that, no one would remember that it actually happened. So now there's like a pink fuzz. It's almost as if like your old school like tube TV was fuzzy. It also looks like one of the red slider things that you used to use for security codes when it came to computer games. Remember, you'd get the red printed code sheets and it would have a little red tinted window with a piece of red cellophane, and it would say like you'd be playing Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis or something, and it would say like what's the code on line 7 row 15, and then you would use that red thing to find that code, and then you'd punch that into the computer, and then that's how you would that's how they would get around like copyright protecting, right? That's what this panel looks like to me. So now we go to the Cobra Temple before. So now we're back to issue 1, and Cobra Commander, it's just a dust. Like when Zartan shows up with the last time he showed up with the Aladdin's lamp. This time, there's nothing there. And Zartan says, I don't know what you were expecting to find, Commander, but I still expect to be paid in full. So, Commander, whereas last time we saw him get the lamp, this time there is no lamp. Baroness and Destro feel something's hinky. Maybe Destro remembers it, maybe not.
Yo, Joe!
And this, we find what Shipwreck's fabulous other wish was. He's playing poker with Snake Eyes, Quick Kick, Spirit, and Shipwreck. It's all the S's. Shipwreck has all the cards, or all the cards and all the chips rather. He has won everything, and he says it's a long story. You never believe me if I told you, but I'm still feeling like this lucky streak is going to last for a long time. So you fellas in for another hand? And Quick Kick's like, well, your luck can't last forever, Shipwreck. And he says, you want to bet? So Shipwreck has cursed himself, monkey's paw style, with the ability to never lose in a game of cards. So I need a follow-up episode where that comes to bite him monkey's paw style. That has to bite him on the butt. He can't just get away with always winning. So let's write that. Let's let that be the follow-up sequel to this. But it's fabulous. And then we get
Yo, Joe!
one more PSA. And this is earlier in the book, Lady J had mentioned to Flint that, hey, we weren't supposed to be here. We were supposed to be having dinner in Paris. And so Lady J is a PSA about saying, in this story, you saw the Joe team pull off a big win through pure luck. Luck is useful, but you can't count on it. Always have a backup plan. And so Flint says, I'm sorry, I forgot to make the reservations, Lady J, but I rustled up a couple of MREs, meals ready to eat. Do you want the pot roast or the chicken a la king? And she says, make sure your backup plan is a good one. Now you know, and knowing's half the battle. Lucky me. Burker. I love it. Oh, speaking of Lady J and Lightyear, I tweeted about this. Almost forgot to mention it today. Mary McDonnell Lewis is the voice of Buzz Lightyear's autopilot in Lightyear. So you're watching the movie, and all of a sudden there's this Joe radar that pops up. I'm like, is that? Because she doesn't talk a lot, but when she does, I'm like, that sounds like, could it be? And sure enough, it is. So that was a whole lot of fun there. Anyway, loved it. Saturday Morning Adventures. Really good job, guys. Really excellent work. Totally enjoyed it. Start to finish. Well played. I hope they revisit this and do more with whatever the future holds. I don't know if there's enough time in the current publishing schedule to fit in another 4 issues. Technically, we still have 6 months, so who knows? Maybe they did plan ahead, and maybe there's some more issues coming out, but I doubt it. But it's really great, and I hope there's a future for this kind of stuff. So, anyway, thank you all for listening. Appreciate you so much. Now you, Joe, and Joeing half the battle.